Okay, we have begun Maimer Zion a couple of days ago. And we're talking about the mitzvah of menucha. And Shabbos is not only about stopping to do malacha, there's actually a mitzvah of menucha. And we showed so in halacha that there's a mitzvah of menucha, the Ramban and the Rambam. And then in order for there to be menucha, and this is the chiddush becomes bigger, and then we're going to get into mind-boggling chiddushin. In order for there to be menucha, in order for there to be, let's say, a better Shabbos, shlit'a, you have to stop. You have to be doing something to begin with in order for it to be considered a shvisa.
You have to work in the week.
Right. It's like, let's say, shmita.
For watching the kids.
Right. Let's say shmita. So shmita, you work your land for 6 years, on the 7th year you stop. If you're not a farmer, and you're not keeping, you don't have the nesoyin of shmita, you don't have the real experience of shmita. Okay, we're keeping shmita in the sense that we're doing the little part of it that we don't eat this, we do eat that. We look at the bottle of the wine. That's how we're keeping shmita. But I keep shmita. But the shmita that's being kept is for the farmers that are being shogas. That's the ikar shmita. Same things with Shabbos. Sheishis yamim tasim lachtecha. Yom hashvi shava. So the divine concept of Shabbos is shvisa by yishbos by Yom hashvi is they have to stop something.
Because shvisa was shmita. Because shmita, no?
Shmot means also stop. It's also called Shabbos, Shabbos, but it's also Shabbos. But there's a different thing of shmot, which the Gemara says is marbi even more malachas. It's more than the lamentes malachas. So there seems to be, which is a chiddush. This is not the regular sort of balabatish chiddush that everyone thinks it is. It's a very holy thing. It seems to be that the mitzvah of menucha. By the way, somebody said a couple of days ago that doesn't say the concept of rest by HaKadosh Baruch Hu, but it's not true. Vayonach b'yom hashvi. That's very simple. The pasuk didn't come to mind at the moment. Vayonach b'yom hashvi. Hashem rests. It's menucha of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So, what is the divine concept of Sheishes Yamim Tasim Lachtecha? So let me say it outside, then we'll learn it inside. It's HaKadosh Baruch Hu created Adam to be B'Tzalmai U'B'Tmusai, created B'Tzalam Elikim. There are so many different pirushim to what it means that we are created B'Tzalam Elikim. There's so many different. Why are there so many different pirushim? Because it's a very strange concept. We're created in Hashem's tzelem. Well, maybe that means something just spiritual. But Dmusai, we're domen. Dmusa means domen. Domen what? What can it possibly mean? So the Tomer Dvara says that it means that we have the midos of Hashem. Mahu rachum, afata rachum. The Rabbi Yehuda Levi says that it means that we have Bechira Chavshis. Just like Hashem could do whatever He wants, we could do whatever we want. It's all emes, all the different pshatim. There's probably, Rav Chaim Volozhin says, closer to what we're learning here, that everything that a person does, every word that a person says even, creates something, creates malachim, creates something in Shemayim, something in this world. Even metaphysically, the scientists say that everything that a person, every word, every tnuah that a person does, creates something, moves around the world a little bit. It's a different world. That's the Salam and the Tammuz. Reb Tzadok says something very simple and profound. That anybody who keeps Shabbos, the Gemara says in Shabbos, where it says in Shabbos Kuf Yud Ches, Nase Shutaf LaKadosh Baruch Hu B'Maaseh Bereishis. It also says in Brachos, Kol Hadam Din Emes LaHamitoi, that if you're dying and you do Emes, Dun Din Emes means that I'm right up the halacha. I'm a judge. I looked up the halacha. That's the halacha. Dun din emes la'amitai, that's a higher madrega. It means not only am I right up the halacha, I'm talking right. Like I uncovered the emes over here. So emes la'mitai, there's a double emes. Think about it, or not just it works here, it works here too. You know, like sometimes, like you hear a psak, okay, if that's a psak, I'm a kabel. I was once in my life, I was involved in an entire meeting on the, not on the paskening side, I was being sued, and I lost. And it was a pella because the dayan was pashut wrong. It wasn't a matter of my opinion, is it? But it was Matthias. The Matthias is that this guy was lying. That's just the Matthias. I know the Matthias, but the halacha came out that I was not wrong, but I was chayiv. So I did it. I paid. It was a new reality. But the point is, it was emes, but it wasn't emes lamita. It wasn't really emes. It wasn't mechanik to the real emes. I know what the real emes is. It's the halacha. But this lashon, I want to be madgish over here. Kol hadon din emes lamita nasa shutaf la'kadosh baruch hu b'maisa bereishis. What does it mean? Nasa shutaf la'kadosh baruch hu b'maisa bereishis. How are we all of a sudden partnering with Hashem? What does it mean? So the answer is that it's just so simple yet so deep. The answer is that HaKadosh Baruch Hu created the world, yes? Ma'aseh Bereishis, not us. Hashem created the world. Sheish is Yom. Sheish is made gracious. But He didn't finish it. There's what He does, which is stuff that we can't do. Going through the Esser spheres of the four worlds, the Atzilus, Bria, we can't do any of that.
Every second of every day.
Every second, every day. Very good. Chadesh, Ma'aseh Bereishis. But then there's our part. So our part is in this world, and the way HaKadosh Baruch Hu set up the situation is that He doesn't finish the job. The finishing tweak belongs to us. I mean, it's very, very empowering. It means to say that what our job is. Take the most obvious example. Asuli Mikdash v'shachanti b'sayich. So if HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you want a piece of real estate, make one. Find a cave that you made. Find a beautiful ocean. Live in the Grand Canyon. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, live wherever you want to live. Live on Mount Everest. Live on Har Sinai. What's v'asuli Mikdash? I created a world. I gave you the chomer. I gave you the hands. I gave you the mind. I gave you B'tzalel. I gave you the people. Now make me a house, because it's our job to finish what He began. We can explain why He did that, but I'm not going to do that right now. I just want to explain the concept. The concept is, if we finish, in other words, Beis Mikdash, as an example, is ours. We're doing ours. We're making a Mishkan. We're doing ours. Kadosh Baruch Hu's doing His, and we're doing ours. I took you out of Mitzrayim. I created bread. I gave you bread. I did all the hard stuff. I want you to take everything that I gave you, the gold, the silver, the copper, the talent, everything that you have. And Vasuli Mikdash, you do yours. Now what happens if He does ours, His, and we do ours, and together you have something complete? Nasa shutaf la'kadosh baruch hu b'ma'aseh bereishis. Simple and beautiful, right? So Nasa shutaf la'kadosh baruch hu. So we become shutfim. Like any set of shutfim. I do mine. I do what I'm good at. You do what you're good at. And we're shutfim. So there's two places where Chazal say that we are shutfim to HaKadosh Baruch Hu b'ma'aseh bereishis. One of them is Hadon din emes lamita. Okay, there needs to be rhyme and reason in this world. There needs to be a mahalach. There needs to be a derech. There can't be hefker. There needs a gardener. The world needs a gardener. So who are the gardeners of the world that are? It's true, the gardener can't make something grow, but who's the gardener? The dayan who's done din emes la'amitai. I'm mechaven emes b'chlal. Is I'm mechaven to an emes, and I'm making things work in this world. So you and I have a machlokas chas v'shalom. We go to a dayan. If he's done din emes la'amitai, the world is working. If we just leave it to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, then we can have chaos. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu put this beyond Adam. Hence the dayan is the Shechina zoymed al gabav, the Gemara says. The Shechina is mamash al roisho shel hadayan. Shechina zoymed al roisho shel hadayan. So what do we are roisho? Get into the din Torah over here. The Shechina. No, this is for you. Now you have to be trained. You have to be erloch. There's a lot of parts to being a judge. You have to be obviously knowledgeable. You have to be smart. You have to be able to really hear what people are saying. But when you can do all that, you've tweaked the world and you're a shutuf. The other person who's a shutuf to HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the one who keeps Shabbos. Or more specifically, the one who's Makayim, the mitzvah of Sheishes Yomim Tasim L'Achtecha. What's the Sheishes Yomim Tasim L'Achtecha? HaKadosh Baruch Hu did work, Malacha, in the Sheishes Yemei HaMaisa. He created water, he created trees, he created mountains. And our job is to tend to all that. La'avda u'lashabra. What did Hashem say to Adam Barishan? I'm putting you in Gan Eden. It's all there. La'avda u'lashabra. Your job is to do avda u'lashabra. Well, this is Gan Eden. What do I have to work? This is before the klala of B'zeyas HaPecha Teichalecha. It wasn't a B'zeyas HaPecha. That was a klala afterwards. Not only you have to work hard. You're going to have to sweat. You're going to have to make your own bread, etc. It's not going to be easy. Before it was easy, but the self kol self, that was the from the very, very beginning of the machshavas habriya, there was la'avdo l'shamra. That's got nothing to do with the klala. Why? Because that's the shutuf la'Kadosh Baruch Hu. So sheishes yom tasim l'achtecha, you're doing your work, I'm doing my work, but then you're not a clear shutuf la'Kadosh Baruch Hu, my gracious, until you keep Shabbos. Why? Shabbos, I'm b'manucha, time to rest, time to take a break. How's that a shutuf to HaKadosh Baruch Hu? So there's a difference between a shutuf and an eved. If you're an eved, if you're a poel, so, okay, my job's finished, I'm going to Florida, and you keep on working, hold the fort. But if you're a shutuf, I'm going with you to Florida. we're shutuf, right? So, take me with. So we HaKadosh Baruch Hu takes us with in Kivyachol his Yom Menucha. You're not just a paid help over here. Love to l'shabra, like we're building a world. Shabbos, we don't build the world. So ultimately, Sheishes Yom Tasam L'Achtecha V'Yoyim HaShvi, your Shabbos Nasa Shutuf L'HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So we understand the concept of shutfus.
The more we're going to work in the week, I would think, the more we work, the more we go do our job of working, whatever that means, the more we deserve, we'll get of our ruchnius and Shabbos.
Yeah, but let's say it even better. What happens when a person is not Shomer Shabbos?
The whole partnership is...
So what's the partnership? If you're not Shomer Shabbos, so you say, look, I'm working with you 6 days. I'm with you 6 days a week. The seventh day, you keep Shabbos, but I'm going to keep working. So what's the pshat? The pshat is that you're koifer b'maisa bracious. You're thinking that you're thinking that you're doing the whole thing. You don't realize that you have a shutuf here, and that what you're doing doesn't even begin to work if HaKadosh Baruch Hu is not doing what He's doing. So on the one hand, it's a tremendously empowering idea that we are creators like Hashem is a creator. On the other hand, if you don't keep Shabbos, so then you think you're the creator, legamri, and everything else came evolutionary or something like that, or Big Bang. So now you're koifer b'maisa bracious. So kol ha'machalal es Shabbos, koifer b'maisa bracious. We don't feel it we don't call Shabbos, but if we were, we wouldn't feel like we're koifer b'maisa bracious necessarily. We just feel like turning on the lights. That's the grace of ice. We feel like taking a ride, going to see a movie, whatever we want to do, right? But the answer is that we have to see ourselves. That's the nekuda. We have to see ourselves as shutfin, as partners in the Ma'aser Breshus. A fantastic yesod. Hence we can understand what it means to be B'Tselem Elokim. Because if we were just subjects of Hashem, part of the creation, like Hashem made trees, Hashem made people, so there's no need to be B'Tselem Elokim. But if we're shutfim, so then we all both have to wear the same T-shirt. And it's like if we're shutfim, we're a team. And if we're a team, so when we're understanding that we're mamash shutfim, you see, and just to explain it a little bit deeper, this is the yesod of Malchus, because Malchus means that after you have all of the midos coming down, chesed, gvura, tiferes, netzach, yesod, Malchus means it hit ground and now it becomes our job. We're in the Malchus part. We are in the Malchus department of the Bria. So the shutfus is ein melech b'lo am. The shutfus is, it's like, let's say, let's create a Dvar Torah together. I'll talk, you listen. If nobody's listening to my talking, nobody's listening to my music, then it's shvach to say that it's even music.
It's Hasehm, it's a partnership.
It's a partnership. No, the chasna is this way, but our partnership is this way. So it's ad kidei kach, the partnership. This is the point that we have to be created b'tzelem Elokim. It's such an executive position.
It wouldn't work otherwise. It wouldn't work otherwise.
Well, it's a tremendous koach, and we're keeping Shabbos like Hashem's keeping Shabbos. We're literally on the godly team. So I'll tell you, I think, I just want to say a chiddush here, that you can write a book, in fact I have written a book, on all of the different pshatim in Tzelem Elokim. Literally have I wrote a kuntras on all the different pshatim in Tzelem Elokim. So I'm a shtickle baki in all the different pshatim in Tzelem Elokim. When it comes down to it, it's all one thing. It's all the same thing, because if you'll say the pshat in Tzelem Elokim is like the Torah Dvaris says, Mahu Rachum Afata Tiyarachum. That means in order for us to do our part in the Ma'aseh Bereishis and be done to do our part, we have to have Rachmanis. We have to have all the Torah Dvaris saying. He's not saying something different. All he's saying is that if you want to do your part in the godly process, then you have to act godly. And acting godly means that Ahu Rachum Afata Tiyarachum. So if we're working without Rachmanis, if we're working without Zarias, and without Chesed, and without Erech HaPayim, if we're working without Midos, so then we're not working in Hashem's executive team. We're in some other. If we're Makalkel in the Bria, if we're killers, if we're stealers, then we're not only we're not B'Tzelem Elokim, we're violating the B'Tzelem Elokim on the deepest level. So whatever anybody says that we are creators, we're creating in Shema, whatever pshat you want to say, we don't have to go through it now, but whatever of the 15, 16 pshatim of from the Chavis Halvavos to Reb Chaim Volozhin that we'll say in Tzelem Elokim, it all comes down to the same thing. This is not just what we're doing to be a shutuf, but this is what we have to be. Prepare yourself to be on this team. Be part of it. And act in a not just in a nice way, but in a godly way. You have to ask God. Even if you'll say the pshat is, which Rav Tzadok is going to tell us that this whole Haggadah is for, that we actually physically have godly features, which is so difficult to understand, so dangerous. But even that is because you're part of the team. And Nasa Shutav Kodesh Baruch Hu Ma'aseh Bereishis. I was just telling you, the one who I think sort of, touches it up so beautifully is Rav Soloveitchik, Olav Shalom. So he says, I wish I had his lashon in front of me. He says that the ikar of Tzelem Elokim, you can see, this is what he's in one of his beautiful Yartzeit shiur. The ikar of Tzelem Elokim you can see when you look at you look at the very, very deep need and desire of every human being to be creative. The creativity of, for instance, we want to have children. Men want to have children. Women, mamish, want to have children. Like, why do you want to have children? It's a bit of a pain in the neck to have children. What's it's expensive. You don't sleep properly. What's the...
Become a grandparent.
That's what, it's just one of those things you have to do, right?
Right. Necessary condition.
I find, I don't want to say, but people talk about, Haterim for not having children sometimes. You shouldn't have children, should have children. I mean, it's just absolutely unbelievable to me how much people want to have children. People want to have children. If people don't have children, they're muzav, they're depressed, if they don't have children. It's what's the biggest simcha in the world? It's interesting. The Vilna Gaon says that the Vilna Gaon writes in the Ma'aser Hav, he says, isn't it fascinating that the biggest simcha in the world, is children, and the biggest tsar in the world is tsar gidul manim. Like, it's two, because it has to go together, says the guy. We need to be creating. Everybody has to be creating something. We're looking to have children. We're looking to build buildings. We're looking to plant. We're looking to see the fruit of our labor. We're looking to be poets and to be musicians and to everybody. If a person has no creativity in them, so there's something somewhere. Someone is creating. Somewhere you're creating. If you don't have that creativity come out, then you're missing a whole part of life. Because that's the essence, he says, of Tzelem Elikim. Tzelem Elikim is Mahu Yaitzer Af Atati Yaitzer. So he goes all of the different pirushim that there are in Tzelem Elikim. It says that you have a Yotzer. And the whole idea, like Rabbi Yehuda Levi says, that the whole issue is that just like he has free choice, we have B'chira Chavshis. That's also, you can't create, the word create. You can't create without being able to make choices. All right? Mm-hmm. It's all about. If not, then I'm not creating. If I'm not choosing, I'm not really creating. Somebody else is creating it, I'm just building it. It's a choice. Do it this way, do it that way. So it's.
I just feel like the shufas is two different things of Dan Dinam Islamito and Shabbos. Dan Dinam Islamito, the way you explained it, was Hakadosh Baruch Hu does up to here, and then we do the rest, and that's a shutfas here. This is more of a parallel.
6 days of work.
Parallel, just like Hakadosh Baruch Hu did this. So we're doing we're mimicking and copying. That's our shutfas here.
No. Shabbos. No. So there's an akuda here. The 6 days, the sheishes yamim tasem lachtecha is the shutfas. He's doing his, we're doing ours. We're finishing off. What's the siman that we're shutfim b'Hakadosh Baruch Hu? Shabbos. So Shabbos is the os, he. Beini uvein b'nei Yisrael. What's the os? The os is that, hey, we're shutfim. You understand? Like you're right. He's giving us the trees. We're making it work. We're pruning the garden. We're making the garden. He's giving us the dinim. We're pasking it ice for this world. It's all the same thing. But so how far do we go with this? That's the question. How far do we go with being godly? Is the question. So he says here.
Kedoshim.
Sorry.
Kedoshim.
Kamke. V'Shabbos nikra al shem hashvisa kivoy shavas mikol malachtai. Kacha Adam, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the Shabbos is called Shabbos, Al Shem Hashvita. Just stop. Because Hashem stopped his malacha. Kacha Adam, same thing is true with person. Shezoicha, if you do keep Shabbos, Nasa Shutav La HaKadosh Baruch Hu B'maisa Bereishis. And here you go. K'may she'isa lo imer vayechulu. What's the diktuk? Lashon plural. Rabim. Vayechulu. Hashemayim v'aretz. Who's Vayechulu? Only one God. Vayechulu. The Gemara darshans this. That's the Gemara Shabbos Kuf Yotes. The Gemara says, what's Vayechulu? Vayechulu Hashemayim v'aretz. Vayechal. What's Vayechulu? The answer is Kol Asher B'Shabbos Kil Chassid Nasa Shutav LaHakadosh Baruch Hu. We both stopped now. We're stopped. Our business is closed. L'chein, as an example, Al Adad Din Abbas Lamita. Uba Vayikar Rabba Al Pasuk Baracha Yaakov Yitzrecha Yisrael. It's an unbelievable. Let's take one. Mother's Rabbi Vayikra. If I don't read this to you inside, you're not going to believe me. I'm telling
Can you translate the pasuk as Shemayim Hashem v'Aretz Hasanim v'Adam also the same way? Which one is what? Shemayim Hashem.
you. That is the pshat. That's the pshat. Zacharti es brisi Yaakov. Right, the pasuk goes backwards there, right? Zacharti es brisi, Hashem says, Zacharti es brisi Yaakov af, es brisi Yitzchak af, es brisi Avram ve haaretz esker. So, why does it start with Yaakov, who was the third of the avos, and work itself backwards? Why is it backwards? That's what the Medrash is darshaning here in Bechukai say. Zacharti es brisi Yaakov ado the sieve. It says in Yeshayahu, V'ata koi amar Hashem. You want to understand who Yaakov was? Ko amar Hashem, Yeshayahu says. Yeshayahu had a nevuah like this. Ko amar Hashem, that Hashem said, Bo ra'acha, let's get the diktuk here. Bo ra'acha Yaakov v'yotzrecha Yisrael. Anybody want to, it's the words of Yeshaya. Anybody want to translate this? Bo ra'acha Yaakov. Yaakov is your creator. Not Bo ra'acha, your creation. Bo ra'acha Yaakov, Yotzerecha Yisrael. Repinchas b'shem Rebruven. Omar HaKadosh Baruch Hu lo'in lamai. Hashem looked at the world and said to the world, Oy lami, oh my world, Oy merlecha, let me tell you, mi bracha, mi yotzrecha, who created you, who formed you? Yaakov bracha, Yaakov yitzarecha, it was Yaakov. There's a new thing about Yaakov. Not only was he a great man, and did he know how to do stuff with sheep and things, and not only did he have the shiftei kah,
Geneticist.
right, but Yaakov, you want to know who Yaakov was? He created the world. Yaakov created the world. Kakasu, says Repinchas, b'shem Reuven, Kakasu, Boiracha Yaakov v'yotzrecha Yisrael. This was the nevuah of Yeshayahu. It's a wild nevuah that he had. Yeshayahu comes and says, "I'll tell you a nevuah I just had." What's the nevuah? Yaakov created the world. It's okay. Okay, sorry, Yeshayahu. Like Chizkiyahu said to Yeshayahu, what did he say to him? Yeshayahu, he said to him, Ben Aboitz, Kol nevuascha, you're ois navi. You can't, not everything can you say. By the way, Yeshayahu had wild nevuahs. Kol nevuascha. No, we have no tightness on this nevuah. It's okay to say that Yaakov created the world. What does it mean? So it means, Pasha, that of course HaKadosh Baruch Hu created the world, but not the world that you see. If you're looking at the world as you see it through our eyes, it's the human element, and specifically the Don Din Emes La'amita. Who was the Don Din Emes La'amita? The ultimate? Yaakov. Titain Emes Yaakov. In other words, so who brought the whole mice of the Avos down to earth? Who created? We were talking about the Yud Beis Shvatim. Happens to be that there's 12 Shvatim. Happens to be, why is it 12 Shvatim? Because Yaakov happened to have 12 kids. Happens to be also 12 mazolos, and there also happens to be 12 months, and there also has to be 12, 12, 12. And the Absuf would it split 12 parts. Why? Because this wasn't just that happened to be 12. Like there's a gematria, like the gematria of Yud Beis is the mazolos. It's not that it happened to be 12. This was the tweaking of the bria. Yaakov Avinu, in having his Yud Beis Shvatim, tweaked the bria. That was the completion of the bria. B'nai Yisrael. That means us. B'nai Yisrael, which comes from the Yud Beis Shvatim, is a makah b'patish in the bria gufa. Just like the Yud Beis Bazolis are that's part of the bria. And not only are the Yud Beis Bazolis, not only is Yud Beis, but every one of those Bazolis is named after a different Shevet. If you look at the Jewish zodiac, it's all connected.
Every hour in the clock.
Right. Why did there have to be 12 paths going through the Yam Suf? Like we can't even get together on a miracle, like split the Yavsuf, like the pictures, like the Haggadah, just split the Yavsuf. Why does it have to be 12? It sounds like a Midrash. Like the Midrash says that there was 12. No. If Reuven would have gone in Shimon's path, he would have drowned. The water would have come right over. There had to be, everyone had to have its own path, because that's the. It would be like feeding a person, plant food. The Bria is divided up into 12, so there have to be 12. Each one had their schus to have a Kriyas Yamsuf. If I'm going in your schus, there is no Kriyas Yamsuf. So says Yeshayahu ad kedei kach that we're going to consider not Avraham, not Yitzchak. We're saying Zachartias Brisi Yaakov. What Yaakov did the world, Brisi Lashon Bria. What Yaakov did for the world, the Bria, he's the Boirei. Ba'afis Brisi Yitzchak. So did Yitzchak and so did Avraham. And even the land had something to do with it. But what you're going from is the when you're going in a backward order from the most refined aspect of the Bria to the most crude. Haaretz Eskar. Aretz is pretty much Hashem created the Aretz. Hashem gave us Eretz Yisrael. Haaretz Eskar. I remember the Aretz also. The Aretz also something.
Adam.
It's amazing how far we'll take this over here. V'chein al uvayikar Rabba, which we just read, al pasuk baracha Yaakov v'yotzrecha Yisrael. Oilami, mi bara oischa, who created you? Baracha Yaakov, you and Sham, which we did. Commotion Namar, let's get more mind-boggling. Yecheskel, in the first parak, says, famous pasuk, V'ra'isi ala kisei, that Yecheskel HaNavi is Kedusha, he was able to see the Kisei HaKavod. And what did he see? V'ra'isi Demus Adam. Al Demus HaKisei Demus Kemara Adam. He saw the Mara Adam. And who do we know? We know who he saw. Who did he see? He saw Yaakov. The Tzur of Yaakov, same Yaakov, a new thing about Yaakov. He was the ultimate creator. That's the thing, by the way, about us. If you don't, if we go through the world and we don't create something significant, so then we miss the boat, because we're here to create, particularly B'nai Yaakov, particularly B'nai Yisrael. It could be that I'm not such an anti-goy. It could be the goyim are like trees, in the sense of Bechira Chavshis. The Ramban says that they're not really creators like we are. We find creativity, but not on the same level. There's a reason why we're winning all these Nobel Prizes all the time. The creationism of B'nai Yisrael specific means to say that others can create, but that's not necessarily their tachlis. It's absolutely our tachlis. So if we haven't created, what is it? The Torah says v'shinantam levanecha. You should teach your children Torah. So Rashi says, who's banecha? What's the kasha? Is there somebody that doesn't understand what levanecha means? It says v'shinantam levanecha. You teach your children Torah. Maybe we don't understand teach, we don't understand Torah. We understand mi banecha. Right? Everyone understands your children. So Rashi says no. Banecha elo atalmidim. It doesn't make such a difference if you're teaching your children, you're teaching somebody else's children. Kol avalabed is ben benoi Torah nasa shutav lakadosh baruch hu b'ma'aseh bereishis. Ben benoi Torah, ben chaveroi Torah. It's about creating that hemshech and making the world more emes. More emes is contributing to the world. In a gashmius, in a ruchnius, in an ethical, in a moral, in a social. Doesn't make a difference as long as it's kaddish and it doesn't matter. And for all of this, you need the tzalmud malikim. So let's go a little bit further, because the comparison between man and Hashem Yisbarach has only begun. Look, it's we need to keep we need to be focused and not become carried away with like the Ovdei Avodah Zarah. It's too far in the Hagshama. But look what we have here. Isa, gracious Rabbi. Let's translate this. Gadol koichan shel Neviim. Look what the Neviim did for us. Say Chazal. Shemedamen Tzura Liyotzra. Translate, please. What is that? Shemedamen Tzura Liyotzra. Well, who knows Hebrew good? You know Hebrew. What's the other? Shemedamen Tzura Liyotzra.
Hashem's the Mishtarim. So what he created, no?
The what?
That Hashem is like us.
Who's Tzura? Who's Yotzra?
Tzura is Hashem, no?
Okay.
The form of Liyotzra to what he formed.
Created us, Tzura,
So we can find.
Liyotzra, to its
To
creator.
Who created us?
What? That we look like Hashem. That's what you think, right? So let's take a look at the Medrash. Medrash says, I looked it up. Medrash says, Omar Reb Yudan, Gadol Koichan Shel Neviim. How are you understanding it? That the Neviim explained to us what? That they're Medamen Tzura Liyotzra. So what was the Gadol Koichan Neviim? I mean that they told us that we're created with Salvation. Hashem already said that. The Torah already said that. In Chumash. It's already Chumash. It's a pasuk Chumash that Salveinu Kidbu Seder Nasa Zada B'tu Kidvei, right? What was the Koichan Shel Neviim? Amar Rav Yudan Gadol Koichan Shel Neviim Shemedamen Tzura Liyotzra. Nemar is a pasuk in Daniel. Eshma Kol Adam Ben Uloi. It's the other way around. That Daniel had a nevuah, a famous nevuah, where he he was prophesied. He saw in his nevuah the Arba Malchios, the world as it's going to unfold. That there's going to be a Malchus Bavel and a Malchus Rami, a Malchus Paras, and Malchus. He saw the whole world as by the way. Here we are at the end. B'diuk Kamo Daniel saw. You can become Orthodox reading Daniel because it's just unbelievable that everything that Daniel said. I mean, he wasn't controlling the world power. That the Babylonian Empire will be followed by the Persian Empire, which will be followed by the Greek Empire, which will be followed by the Roman Empire. Who knew? Who the Romans that were making pizza? Who would become an empire? Daniel called the whole thing. Before the whole time of Nebuchadnezzar, Daniel called the whole thing. There's going to be the Malchus Bavel, but it's going to fall. You know, like even like if you're an American, like who could think of America falling? It can fall, but only a Navi could come. Only a Navi could say like this too can fall. You know, and what could be and who's going to become the big one? Who knows? You know, like so Daniel called it all. So he says over there that. This nevuah he was standing, he says in Daniel, he was standing Bein Ulai, by the river, it's a river, the river Ulai. He was standing and he heard Gavriel explain the Arba Malchios. And he says, when I heard, he saw Gavriel in his nevuah, that was receiving an explanation of the Arba Malchios from Hashem. So Daniel didn't get this nevuah ki'ilu directly from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Yes and no. I'm just saying what it says in the Psukim. It says that I was standing Bein Ulai, I was standing on the river Ulai, and I heard Hashem speaking to Gavriel, explaining to Gavriel, who the warrior, the Gibor, explaining to Gavriel how the world is going to unfold. Okay, Kasha, Reb Daniel, Navi Daniel, what do you mean you heard Hashem? What does that sound like? What does it sound like to hear Hashem? I heard Hashem explaining to Gabriel. Hashem was a voice. What does it mean? So says Daniel, Ve'eshma, what did I hear? Ve'eshma kol adam.
Heard a man's voice.
I heard a man's voice.
It was translated to his human being capabilities.
I heard of it. What did Daniel hear? I don't know why it needs to go all the way back to. Why does it go? What did we hear at Har Sinai? So the answer is we don't know. I don't know what we heard at Har Sinai. Maybe it was a regesh. What did we hear when we heard Anochi Hashem Elikech? We heard Kol Adam.
No, it doesn't say that.
Lo Yadua. We can imagine, but it doesn't. To my knowledge, doesn't say.
Right.
You have to go all the way until Daniel, until he tells you that it's Kol Adam. That's what I heard. I heard Hashem talking, and it sounded just like a man. It didn't sound like
Not a woman, for sure.
not a woman, not Charlton Heston,
Not with a British accent.
Whoever played, it didn't have a British accent. Exactly. Right. What does God sound like? I could have made these movies. How did they figure out what God is supposed to sound like? Oh, I am the Lord. Ve'eshma kol adam menulai. Omar Rabbi Yehuda bar Simain. So Rabbi Yehuda bar Simain says to Rabbi Yudan, he said, Islon karya acharnaron demachaver yoser mindain. I've got even a better pasuk than you got. I've got a better pasuk than you have. Shedemar, because it says in Yecheskel that we just read, it says in Yecheskel, Val Dmus Hakise, Dmus Kimare Adam, that not only does Hashem sound like a man, but he talks like one, and he looks like one too. So comes Rabbi Yehuda bar Simon, and he says, why are you bringing me a shvacha pasuk that the Kol Hashem is the Kol Adam? I'm telling you that the Dmus Hashem is the Dmus Adam. Again, why does he have to walk till Yecheskel? But Salmeinu Kidmusenu, because who knows what that means? Until the Nevi'im are mefarish for us that Kidmusenu but Salmeinu should be taken literally. No matter what shot you're going to learn, we're going to take it automatically ethereally. Why would we take it literally? Because we know that it's impossible, it's philosophically untenable for HaKadosh Baruch Hu to have the Surah Adam. This is our problem. Because that would limit him in some sense. You have a head, the head has an end. So we don't know what it means. And we must stay away from Hagshama on all levels. And the Rambam would walk out of the shiur if he was sitting here, I'm sure. Because it's impossible to fathom the Torah Adam. But, I'm just reading you the Medrash, Al Dmus Akise, Dmus, Kemare Adam, Olav Milmala, Sha'amaloi B'chachma. It looks like a person who's being Osik and Chachma, like a philosophical person. He says here in the Pirush Maharzav, Vayikra Vayomer, from Daniel, Vayikra Vayomer Gavriel, Haven Lahaloz es Hamara. Mi hu zeh sheyitzava al Gavriel el Hashem Yisbarach. And then Rabbi Yehuda says the Mechaver Yeser Mindein ki Daniel lo hisig elo kol adam. Ach Yecheskel hisig demus adam al kisei hakavod. Presumably, he who is on the kisei hakavod is HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So it's the demus adam, demus Yaakov. So it goes back to what we're saying, that Yaakov, because HaKadosh Baruch Hu said in the Medrash Bereshis, this is the Medrash Vayikra. This is the Medrash Bereshis and Medrash Vayikra. Hashem said, Oilami, mi bayracha, Yaakov. So we're talking about Yaakov as the bayre. So let's, we walk out religious. let me just explain. Let me just synopsize, and then we'll go further on Wednesday. The Nakuda is not that we look like Hashem and Hashem looks like us. The Nakuda is that there's two different ends of a spectrum, shutfim. So it means to say that we look like HaKadosh Baruch Hu on our creative side. Meaning, not that Hashem has, is
Physical
balding,
appearance.
and has whatever good thing or weak. There might be aspects of that in the mashal, but what we're really talking about is that the kol ha'adam, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu considers us fellow creators. Now, this is not Kabbalah. This is Gemara. Nasa shutuf la'Kadosh Baruch Hu. We're fellow creators. B'maisa b'reishis. It's Gemara. So in so far as we are fellow creators, we are domeh in b'tzalma u'b'dmusai to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And so far as that we're fellow creators with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, so Yaakov, Musai shel Yaakov, Chakuk al Kisei Yaakov, also an aspect of Hashem. And insofar as we're fellow creators, Hashem heard the Kol Hashem ki Kol Ha'adam. That's also possible. See, Rabbi Yehuda Halevi says that the Tzelem Elikim means Malachim. Can't be like we have a Tzelem Elikim. It means Malachim. Also Emes. Malachim are also carrying out the creation of HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
Themselves are creations as well.
They're creations, so are we. So they're creations that are carrying out the creations, dynamic creations. Charismatic creations, if you will, in the true sense of the word. That was it's creating energy. So what we're saying is, it's not important to us what Hashem looks like per se, nor can we be masig it. But in terms of creation, we have to understand we're shutfim in this. And as shutfim, we have his koach, we have his patience, we have his rachmanas, we have his free choice. And we even have his voice, and we have his look, or he has our voice. So what's the lashon here? The Medrash says, Shemadamin surah liyotzra doesn't mean that we are like Hashem. It means that Hashem is like us. Medamin surah liyotzra means that the surah is the surah of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It's before it's in the Medrash. Moshe Yisa surah shel Yaakov Avinu. Right? Tzurasa shel Yaakov Avinu chakuka b'kisei Yaakov v'yotzra hu ha'adam shedimu alayla. So in this context, we're the creators, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu is kilu mimicking us. So it's on the one hand, you see. Let me say this: that the real side of midah keneged midah is that as much as we are always trying to emulate Hashem, Hashem is also emulating us as fellow creators. So the midah keneged midah is b'midah sha'ata moided in loy. Okay, that's what you want to create. You want to live in that kind of a house. Shutuf is a shutuf. Yeah, we got a deal. That's the kind of house you want to live in. I'll give you the house. I'll give you the koach. That's the kind of relationship you want to have. You want to be like a mean person and an achsor and a person who's hurtful to other people. Okay, that's what you want to create. I'm with you on that. I'll help you. I'm a shutuf. It has to. So as much as we're emulating Hashem, Hashem is emulating us. So we got to do a good job. This has to be good. It has to be perfect. It has to be holy. It has to be godly. And then you have the ultimate malchus, where the malchus is a malchus la Hashem.
So Yaakov is 12, and Hashem is 13. 13
mitos.
13 mitos.
Me'al.
Yeah.
Yeah, in the Kesem, absolutely true.
And his son, Hashem, was also